Welcome back. Happy Monday, everybody. I also want to wish a happy Diwali to everybody who might be celebrating that today. Saw some fireworks last night. I expect I'll see and hear some tonight. You might hear some during the review tonight as well. I remember, I think it was, I want to say last year that there were definitely sounds of that kind of nature in the background. So, a happy Diwali to everybody. That being said, moving into news of the day, for all you fine people, starting off with Carey Price. I'm wearing the Price jersey for that reason. Carey Price doesn't want to retire, saying he has no plans to retire, but also he doesn't want to have to get surgery. One thing that's important here is he wants to get to be pain free. Um, and there are certain instances where having the surgery may not lead to pain free over the long term. I've talked about this before, how there may be certain surgeries and treatments and things that players are a little concerned about because of the long term health implications. Think back to when Jack Eichel, for instance, wanted to get the disc replacement surgery rather than the spinal fusion, with the idea that the fusion, you normally have to go in and get it fixed again 10 years down the road. It can negatively impact your long term quality of life. Whereas the disc replacement, it's far less risky long term, right? And you should be able to enjoy a full and healthy life out of it. So Price is trying to ride that line of not wanting to retire, which I still think this is probably where it's going to end up, and not wanting to do anything that he feels is going to compromise himself longer at a longer term state. So, anyways, yeah, we'll see how that goes for him. And for the Montreal Canadiens, has to be tough for him to watch, especially as exciting as this season's been for Montreal so far. Like it's got to be hard for him. It looks like they're having a lot of fun out there, and he's probably wishing he was a part of it. Vancouver news, because of course there's Vancouver news. Tucker Pullman's on the IR, so they've called up Brisebois. I did talk before the season started. I talked in previews. I've talked in numerous videos about Vancouver. I thought their blue line was wrongly maligned, but I also did, agree they could use some more depth, maybe another top four guy. I thought that it was a decent blue line, but it's been definitely riddled with injuries so far. The rough start is going to make that more apparent, and so for the Canucks blue line, it's been a real issue throughout. Also, JT Miller getting Canuck fans talking because it's what he does. JT Miller doesn't have a filter, and I love that about him as a player. And the funny thing is, people get upset about all the things he says. I don't. I just think he's honest. JT Miller, who's off to a bit of a slow start himself, just the 2 goals and an assist through 6 games. But when he's asked about, fans throwing jerseys on the ice, and I didn't see jerseys getting thrown on the ice in that last game, because at that point I was already kind of trying to ignore some of the fan reactions. But he said he doesn't care. He doesn't care if people are wasting their money and then throwing it on the ice. Yep, I agree. I've talked about this before. I've seen instances on social media of fans either burning jerseys, throwing jerseys out, and right now it's Vancouver, but it can be anybody. And I always see that more as a, hey, look what I'm doing. Hey, look at me, pay attention. And I don't take it that seriously. Those people are going to buy another one. It's just that's the way that works. If the team goes on a winning streak, they'll be cheering with everybody else. It just I don't take it seriously. And so the fact that JT Miller's not taking it seriously, I agree with him. I absolutely do. So while I've seen people mad, how dare JT Miller say that? There's not much to disagree with here. So yeah, Canuck fans can be very reactionary. They can be very dramatic when they're reactionary. And it feels like it's something that Canuck fans and Leaf fans share in common, right? We remember burnt Leaf jerseys and such. So, yeah, I don't disagree with Miller. You guys can let me know your thoughts. There are various ways that I think fans can show their disapproval. There's booing. There's not buying the tickets. There's not buying the merchandise. There's just not supporting the team. And it's funny because when the Canucks get off to starts like this, the way this used to work, so before I had a channel and I didn't really have the money to go out and buy jerseys and stuff, I used to like it when they got off to these slow starts because I knew all their stuff was going to go on clearance. I'd be like, now I can get myself a jersey because it's going to go on for half price because all these stores ordered them and nobody's going to buy one. Way to go, Canucks. So there's that. It's something I used to joke about with the Leafs too. I was able to get Leafs jerseys before the channel blew up. because I was able to find them for cheap. The Leafs would either miss the playoffs or, lose in the first round or whenever, and all of a sudden I could get a Leafs jersey for like $40-50. That one Leafs throwback from the Winter Classic one when they played against Detroit, that one I got for like $45. Yeah. So I'm really grateful when teams are losing from a collector's standpoint. But anyways, yeah, Vancouver, the fans not happy. How JT Miller's upset, and he's just, I don't think he's upset. He's just being honest. I wish players were more honest. So to correct something from the preview this morning, Pinto is not taking that place on the second line, and I agree. Why break up the third line when it's playing really well? Derek Brassard is going to be playing on that second line between Giroux and DeBrincat. So for Brassard, this is a chance to get ice time and a spotlight he hasn't had in a long time. As many teams as he's been through, this is the first time I've seen in a while that he's had a real chance at the spotlight. Never really had that in Edmonton or the last few places he's been as well. He's been through 10 different teams, so there have been a few places. But yeah, it would be fun to see him do well. Josh Norris is expected to be out at least 2 weeks with his shoulder injury, so that's a shame. He gets a goal in that game, and then he gets hurt, and he's out. So hopefully it's not longer than 2 weeks, right? But when I hear the at least part, I'm thinking, so it could be a month, right? Anyways, we'll see how it goes. News out of Columbus that's kind of a surprise to me. Boquist clearly not in the good graces with the coach. He's been a healthy scratch for the last 4 games. So the question of, so could he end up being on the trade block? Could we see Boquist end up going somewhere else? He's a young defenseman. I think he'd have good market value if they did put him up. I can think of a team that's an hour and a half from here that might want to at least call about Boquist. But yeah, healthy scratch for 4 straight games would tell you he's in the doghouse. He'll get back in the lineup. The offense is there. I'm guessing, I'm just throwing that out there, it's probably defensive miscues that have cost him a spot. Or maybe they just really liked Blankenship's work. Now, Blankenship, if he's going to be out for any period of time, Boquist will probably jump into that spot, right? And then we'll see what he does with that. But yeah, for Columbus, it's been an interesting start to the season. Maybe yesterday's game is a sign things are turning around. We'll find out. Philip Hedl, speaking of injury news, he's going to be out for at least a week for the New York Rangers. It's an upper body injury for him, which will affect the kid line. And injuries are, presenting themselves for the Rangers early in the season. Last night, of course, they had the tough loss against Columbus, and so we'll see how they bounce back from that. I do think for the Rangers, I think that there's definitely been some issues with the team early in the season. I do think back to last year where their 5-on-5 play, when you looked at from an analytical standpoint, they weren't very good. And so maybe there were some bad habits that were in there that they've kept, and perhaps we're just seeing the record back to more of a 500 vibe because the saving grace that was Shesterkin's stealing of games isn't really happening early in the season. But we'll see. I do like the Rangers. I do hope the Rangers do well. Your 3 stars of the week this week are as follows: Rasmus Dahlin of the Buffalo Sabres, Brady Tkachuk of the Ottawa Senators, and Mackenzie Blackwood of the New Jersey Devils. So 3 teams that missed the playoffs last year, they get the 3 stars this week. I do like that. I'm glad to see Blackwood on the list too, after what was a pretty rough season for him last year. Tkachuk had a very good week. Both Tkachuk brothers have had good starts to the season. It would be great if we saw them in a playoff series against each other, and with Florida and Ottawa being in the same division, we may eventually get that. So I've got my fingers crossed for that. And they're both on long-term contracts, right? So it could very well happen. Phil Kessel's set to make history. Not that he's paying any attention to it. He doesn't, and I get it. I get it from Phil Kessel's point of view too. Like, okay, I've played the X amount of games in a row. Consecutive games played mark is going to be tied tonight, and then he'll break it in the next game, which would break the Keith Yandel record. But yeah, for him, I can understand why he wouldn't see it as, I'm not going to say not a big deal. Obviously, there's going to be some pride in that, but he may not be tracking how many games and how close he's getting. He's just focused on the fact that he's in Vegas. He wants to help them get back into the playoffs and maybe win that Stanley Cup ring, which he has got a couple of them from Pittsburgh, but he's still got a lot of fingers left over, right? So I've always appreciated Kessel's laid-back attitude, which I know some take as kind of laziness, and from a practice standpoint, they may have a point. But I think when he's talking to the media and he's just cool and chill, I think that's great. Again, JT Miller, Phil Kessel on the board, two guys that have ruffled feathers in media here and there and with fans here and there. But I think they just tell you the honest truth. And I think there's not enough of that from hockey players. St. Louis Blues news for tonight. Almost went Blues Clues on that, didn't I? No, Blues news. So at least we've got a jingle for that if I ever did do a Blues news part. Although, copyright. I'm pretty sure that'd be copyrighted. Brandon Saad won't be playing tonight. He has an upper body injury. No word yet on how long he's going to be out, but he's out for tonight. Anytime I say no word on how long he's going to be out, immediately the press will have that out there. Oh, he's out for this long. Grice apparently is going to get his first start tonight. He was the first goalie off the ice, and at practice, the first goalie off the ice is usually your starter. So Grice should be the starter tonight against the Jets, which should be a fun game. Again, I mentioned this in the preview. I'll mention it here. Tonight's matchups all look pretty good. And even Carolina, Vancouver, that could be good. It might be good for all the wrong. If it's 4-0 Carolina after the first, it could be, something you just grab yourself some popcorn and you just sit down and watch. But yeah, it's going to be a fun night tonight in hockey. I think it's going to be some entertaining results. So I'm looking forward to watching those games and then passing on what happened to all you fine people. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Your thoughts on, throwing a jersey on the ice and burning jerseys. And again, I'm very cynical, so I always take that more of as are they looking for clout, or do they want us to feel bad? Do they want the team to see this and feel bad? Who feels bad here? That jersey cost them how much? And then when they say, well, it only cost me $50. Okay, so you sacrifice nothing. Cool. Or when they say, oh, I have lots of jerseys, so this was just done for attention then. Got it. Anyways, again, it's the cynic in me. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.